This is an online Catholic Bible study program produced by J.C. For Me. Lesson 4, Book of Genesis. Notes prepared by J. Aloysius Ignatius, Father Gerard J. D. Silva and Father Trevor de Souza, OFM. Summary. The Book of Genesis is an incredibly significant book. Many readers might be surprised to learn that biblical history begins with the call of Abraham in Genesis chapter 12. The first 11 chapters of Genesis consist of stories imbued with theological themes and meanings. They lay the foundational concepts for understanding creation as good, God as the Creator, the creation of humankind, the image and likeness of God, marriage, the care of a brother, sin, the fall, and more. These foundational elements are all embedded in these 11 chapters and will be discussed in further detail later. 1. Name and meaning of the book. The Book of Genesis is the first book of the Pentateuch and the entire Bible. The term Pentateuch is derived from Greek, meaning 5 books. These 5 books, namely, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, are also known as the Torah or the Law in both Jewish and English traditions. The word Genesis means beginning in Greek. It addresses one of today's most debated topics, the origin of life. Genesis describes the infinite and all-powerful Lord God creating everything that exists by the power of His spoken word, out of nothing. Essentially, He creates material matter from non-material nothing. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth, darkness covered the face of the deep, while the breath of God swept over the face of the waters. Genesis chapter 1 verses 1 and 2. 2. Time span. The book of Genesis was written to document God's creation of the world and to showcase His love for all that He made. It covers a period from the creation of the world to the end of Joseph's life in Egypt, spanning approximately 4,000 years up to 1700 BC. 3. Authorship of Genesis. Genesis is a narrative history that includes genealogies. It was communicated by Moses around 1450 to 1410 BC and passed down orally through generations until it was eventually documented during King Solomon's reign around 950 BC. In his wisdom, King Solomon recorded all the wonderful and mighty deeds of God during his rule. 4. Key personalities in Genesis. Key personalities include Adam, Eve, Noah, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, and Joseph. 5 themes in Genesis chapters 1 to 11. Genesis chapters 1 to 11 explain the creation of all things. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Genesis chapter 3 describes the fall of man or original sin, and the resulting separation from God. This chapter also addresses the consequences of the sin and separation. Later, through a universal flood, God wipes out humanity, sparing only Noah, a faithful man, and his family, and thus begins anew with this secluded family. 6 themes in Genesis chapters 12 to 18. In Genesis chapter 12, God initiates His plan of redemption by beginning to establish His own nation of Israel. He calls upon Abraham, a faithful man, and promises to bless him with a multitude of descendants who will, in turn, bless the entire world. In you all the families of the earth will be blessed. Genesis chapter 12 verse 3. To build a relationship with the nations, God focuses on one nation, hoping it will eventually encompass all nations. The migration of Abraham's family, Genesis chapter 11 verses 26 to 31, is part of the broader movement of humanity to claim their lands. Genesis chapter 10 verses 32 to chapter 11 verse 9. However, Abraham's acquisition of his land differs from the nations. He will not immediately possess it, nor will he have descendants like the nations, as he is old and his wife is childless. Genesis chapter 12 verses 1 to 9. Abraham and Sarah live with trust and obedience to God until Isaac is finally born to them. They manage to acquire a small piece of land, the burial cave at Machpelah. Genesis chapter 23. Abraham's humanity and faith serve as a remarkable example for the exilic generation, that is the people in exile. 7 themes in Genesis chapter 25 verse 19 to chapter 35 verse 43. Genesis chapters 25 to 35 focus on Jacob and his 12 sons, with the stories connected by a geographical theme. Jacob lives in Canaan until he steals the birthright from his brother Esau, forcing him to flee to Paddan Aram. There, his uncle Laban deceives him, just as Jacob had deceived Esau. Despite this, Jacob is blessed with wealth and sons. He eventually returns to Canaan, receives the final blessing, and is reconciled with Esau along the way. Once Jacob's sons reach the number 12, he is given the name Israel, Genesis chapter 32 verse 28 and Genesis chapter 35 verse 10. The blessings originally given to Abraham are reaffirmed to Isaac and Jacob. 8 themes in Genesis chapters 37 to 50. In Genesis chapters 37 to 50, God faithfully upholds his promise to protect and raise the generations from Abraham onwards, leading up to Joseph in Egypt. He blesses Abraham's sons and their descendants. Through their disappointments and failures, God's power and sovereignty are evident in their lives. By the end of the book of Genesis, God's people find themselves in a foreign land, contemplating the promised land. 9 themes in Genesis chapter 37 verse 1 to chapter 50 verse 26. Genesis chapter 37 verse 1 to chapter 50 verse 26 marks the final cycle of ancestral stories, focusing on Jacob's son Joseph. In Genesis chapters 48 and 49, the narrative shifts back to Jacob. The stories about Joseph are thematically sophisticated, intricately plotted, and delve deeply into the character's psychology. Jacob's favoritism towards Joseph, the son of his beloved wife Rachel, incites his brother's jealousy to the point of plotting his death. Joseph narrowly escapes death thanks to the intervention of Reuben, the eldest, and Judah, but is ultimately sold into slavery in Egypt. In the chapter following Genesis chapter 38, Judah experiences trials similar to Joseph's. Joseph, blessed with divine wisdom, rises to become second in command to Pharaoh in Egypt. In this powerful position, he encounters his unsuspecting brothers, who have come to Egypt seeking food during a famine. Joseph tests them to see if they have truly repented. He learns that their hatred has been replaced by love for their father, Israel. Judah, who seems to have taken on the role previously held by the eldest brother Reuben, expresses the brothers' newfound respect and appreciation for their father and Joseph, Genesis chapter 44. By the end of Genesis, Jacob, also now called Israel, and the entire family is in Egypt, setting the stage for the events in the book of Exodus. 10 Conclusion. Genesis explores the origins of the universe and life on earth. It teaches that God created us in His image to live in relationship with Him and with one another. He equips us with the freedom to act out of love for Him. Despite our disobedience and the resulting fallen state, God's love continually works to redeem His creation from the consequences of the fall. He gives us work as a gift, directing us to do our best and find fulfillment in it. We have the choice to either collaborate with Him or oppose Him. Thank you for viewing and listening to this lesson. Kindly place your feedback in the comments. Kindly subscribe and share. God bless you.